I'd like to thank President Durkee, Secretary Treasurer Bertelli, the international staff, the General Executive Board, and the delegates for allowing me to introduce this video. I'd like to also give a special shout out to the lead organizer during this campaign, which this video describes, is Trent Leon Learman. In the beginning, workers were not afraid. On the morning of January 11th, 2015, sick of unsafe working conditions and unfair pay, dozens of workers at Portland Specialty Baking marched into the company president's office and asked for voluntary union recognition. It was soon after that that BCTGM, Local 114 in Portland, Oregon, and the AFL-CIO launched an extraordinary campaign to help organize workers at the bakery. In a unique partnership with the Oregon AFL-CIO, organizers met with workers for almost a year, listening to their stories while uncovering the major issues workers faced at the bakery. Workers in the plant complained about unsafe working conditions, the need for safer and more modern equipment, scheduling issues, and below average pay and benefits for the industry in the Northwest. Many people there had worked there 10 or 15 years and only made barely above minimum wage. And then they were threatened with loss of their job if they did not work the mandatory overtime. Initially, communication was a challenge for the organizers because Portland Specialty Baking's workforce is overwhelmingly comprised of immigrants and refugees, divided into pockets of different nationalities and language groups. NLRB election notices, for example, were translated into Arabic, Burmese, Chuukese, Khmer, Laotian, Nepalese, Russian, Spanish, and Vietnamese. However, through perseverance and the help of interpreters, inroads were made. Despite a majority of workers having signed union recognition cards, the company brought in a professional union buster who led presentations at the beginning of nearly every shift for 2 weeks. Workers were then called in for one-on-one meetings with 2 or 3 managers at a time for the 2 weeks leading up to the election. When the election took place in early February 2016, a majority of workers were afraid of company backlash and voted against union representation. But this is not the end of the story. Working with the nonprofit group Northwest Workers Justice Project, 6 months after the election, 7 workers filed a class action lawsuit against the company that resulted in a major win for Oregon's manufacturing workers. You see, Portland Specialty Baking neglected to pay workers the proper overtime wage. Oregon law states that workers in manufacturing facilities must be paid overtime after 10 hours in a day and cannot work more than 13 hours in a day. The lawsuit also charged the company of illegally discouraging workers from using sick leave they're entitled to under Oregon state law. Workers won that lawsuit, which resulted in a new interpretation of the state of Oregon's Bureau of Labor and Industries overtime laws. As many as 200,000 Oregon manufacturing employees now benefit from the new interpretation of how overtime is paid. Workers now receive overtime pay on both daily, over 10 hours in a day, and weekly, over 40 hours in a week, whereas before it was paid on the greater of the two, but not both. While ultimately unsuccessful, the organizing drive was a great partnership between the Local 114 and the Oregon AFL-CIO. The campaign did an admirable job, including bringing together community groups, politicians, and rank-and-file organizers in an attempt to organize a largely non-English speaking workforce from dozens of different countries. Workers at the plant continue to support unionization and remain in contact with BCTGM Local 114 and the Oregon AFL-CIO. In this video, BCTGM Local 114 Financial Secretary Treasurer Terry Lansing and Organizer Recording Secretary Alejandro Ahumada reflect on the campaign.